Hello and welcome to Raus IAS. This is the Daily News Simplified for the date 26th March 2024. So these are the following news article which we have taken from the newspaper dated 25th March 2024. This is because today there is no print and digital edition of the Hindu and Indian Express. So these are the news articles which were covered in yesterday's newspaper, right? So today we have picked up 3 articles for mains discussion. These are these articles mentioned here and 5 articles for discussion for prelims. Now let's start our today's discussion, and if you like our video, give us a thumbs up, and if you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section. Let's begin our discussion. The first topic for today's discussion appeared at multiple sections of yesterday's newspaper. So this March 24 is celebrated globally as World Tuberculosis Day. So that's why these were the news articles. And you know that tuberculosis is a airborne disease. And if we talk about India, India has become the global hotspot of tuberculosis. Every year in India, there are around 18 lakh cases. 18 lakh new cases are reported every year in India, and around 4 lakh mortalities happen in India due to tuberculosis. Now, you would be surprised by the fact, or if you already know, that India has a tuberculosis control program. India had right since 1962. Now, with this, more than 50 years have been passed when India has had a program dedicated to eliminate tuberculosis. And one more important fact about tuberculosis is that it can be treated. It is called by a bacterium, Bacillus mycobacterium. It is a bacterial disease caused by this bacterium, Bacillus mycobacterium. So, despite having a BCG vaccine, and this BCG vaccine is more than 100-year-old vaccine for tuberculosis. It is a preventive vaccine, and BCG shot is given to children. In India, basically, right after birth, this BCG shot is given to children within 2 weeks of their birth, and maximum age is till the age 5 years. This BCG shot is given to children. So we had BCG and we had this tuberculosis control program right since 1962. But still, we can see that, as we already saw, that more than 18 lakh cases. So let's see other dimensions of this article. And this article is important for us for our GS paper 2, social justice, under the subsection health. And this may be also important for you for your GS paper 3, science and technology, under various important diseases. Now, first of all, let's see the status of tuberculosis. As we have discussed, tuberculosis is a airborne communicable disease which can be transmitted via droplets in air, respiratory droplets. And now, many of us would think that tuberculosis is basically an infection in the lungs or a pulmonary infection. But this is not right, though. See, tuberculosis is of 2 types. First is pulmonary tuberculosis, which infects the lungs. 80% of the cases of TB are pulmonary tuberculosis. But apart from this, tuberculosis is also able to infect other organs of the body. What are these other organs? These may be your central nervous system. These may be pleura, which is the covering of the lungs. It may be your lymphatic system or lymph nodes. This may be it may infect genitourinary systems, and it may also infect bones or bone TB or arthritis. So 80% of the cases are pulmonary TB infections, and rather other are the cases of extrapulmonary tuberculosis cases. And now see, the primary strategy to deal TB, the preventive strategy, is by giving BCG shot to the infants. And the treatment strategy which India has been following since long is by giving DOTS. DOTS is direct observable treatment short course. It is a combination of fixed drug combination. That is, various antibiotics are given to the TB patients via fixed drug combination. What is a fixed drug combination? Fixed drug combination is a combination of multiple antibiotics. If we combine 2 or more than 2 antibiotics together in a single tablet or a single tablet or solution, then this is known as fixed drug combination because it is very easy to administer. That's why we use FDC. So DOT strategy India has been following in the form of fixed drug combination. And who are vulnerable to tuberculosis? Tuberculosis generally infects children, infants, adolescents, people, and also to the people who are highly vulnerable, people who have history of non-communicable diseases like obesity, like diabetes, like cardiological issues, and also people who have compromised immunity. People with low nutritional levels and compromised immunity, they can be infected by tuberculosis, and even pregnant women and older population. That is, it proportionally impacts the older population and vulnerable sections. So the global sustainable development goal to eliminate TB from the world, there is a target year is 2030. And in lines with this, has India has launched its own target to eliminate TB by the year 2025, and this is under Pradhan Mantri Tuberculosis Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. And via this, India aims to eliminate TB by the year 2025, 5 years from the WHO target. And also, let's discuss what are the challenges pertaining to the high availability of tuberculosis cases in India particularly. The first thing is the issue of diagnosis. Now, under this various programs by Government of India, say National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, there were establishments of various dedicated centers in government institutions, also in government hospitals, also dedicated centers to diagnose TB, even in rural areas. But still, having these test centers, there are the cases of misdiagnosis. First of all, it is due to lack of awareness in people who mistake the symptoms of TB to other diseases. So because of this lack of awareness, second is misdiagnosis or delay in diagnosis of the symptoms of tuberculosis. And then, there is other issue with tuberculosis is that the issue is antibiotic resistance. That is, under DOTS, the first degree or the first line of treatment of tuberculosis drug, this has to be administered for 6 months without any break in between or without any failure. Okay, but there are population who are not able to comply with, mostly people are not able to comply with the 6 months of uninterrupted medications, because of which what happens, they develop antibiotic resistance tuberculosis, which is multi-drug resistance TB, or if multi-drug resistance TB, the another case of worsening is extended drug resistant TB. So in this MDR and this XDR, higher doses or a different doses of antibiotics is needed, right? So because of this failure in diagnosis, there is another issue that the TB cases, they are often misdiagnosed as first degree TB cases or simple TB cases, but there is no distinction between XDR TB cases and MDR TB cases. That is, there is misdiagnosis, possibility of misdiagnosis or error in diagnosis. And still, for diagnosis, the facilities, the government hospitals, they rely on sputum microscopy test. Sputum is a mixture of saliva and mucus. So these are dated tests. And because of this also, there can be a false diagnosis or misdiagnosis. Other thing is non-compliance. Non-compliance means that despite there are regulatory orders in country to prevent the counter sale of antibiotics, but despite having this, there is rampant sale of antibiotics. So, and also due to non-compliance in administrating drugs or not following the primary line of treatment DOTS, because of which there is an issue of antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance, antibiotic resistance, right? So this is the issue of non-compliance. The third thing is access to quality  Even despite having healthcare systems in rural areas, there is an issue of quality healthcare. A quality healthcare is that facility that is using modern or more innovative practices. For example, generally the treatment is relying on sputum microscopy test, but the advanced version could be nucleic acid amplification test. This is a kind of test in which the genetic material from bacteria, it is extracted out, and this genetic material, that is DNA, it is amplified. You have heard of PCR test, polymerase copy test, chain reaction. This was more prevalent at the time of COVID-19 diagnosis. So this test uses this text extract the DNA from the bacteria, amplifies it, and then a patient is diagnosed of TB. So the most important thing is that it takes only 2 hours. So this is an advanced facility for faster diagnosis of TB. And the government of India bought out this nucleic acid amplification test in the year 2017. But this is only limited to certain facilities in urban areas. And in rural areas where there are worst sufferers of TB or with maximum people with TB, these facilities are not present in rural areas, right? And other thing is, now because of all these reasons, TB, tuberculosis, has turned into humanitarian crisis. Why? Because it has also a gendered impact. That is, women who are a vulnerable section itself, they are more vulnerable to misdiagnosis, lack of awareness, and incomplete doses of treatment, because of which they are more impacted as compared to men. And there can be loss of employment also if women are employed. Other thing is socio-economic challenges which comes with TB. For example, the economic challenges come poverty, hardships, loss of employment, and social challenges are like stigma. There is a various stigma. There is a stigma attached with tuberculosis, and this stigma and the issue of rehabilitation. When the patient is cured, because of this stigma, there are issues with rehabilitation or gaining employment by that person or by that patient. And because vulnerable sections are more prone to these all effects, that's why tuberculosis has turned into a humanitarian crisis, right? So let's see that what are the government efforts in this regard. The first thing is National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. As we saw that India had a tuberculosis control program right since 1962, which was revamped as revised National Tuberculosis Control Program in the year 1997, and also in the year 2020 this was again revamped into National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, National Tuberculosis Mukt Program. So what was the focus of this program? Earlier, under this RNTCP, this revised National Tuberculosis Control Program, more focus was given on early diagnosis and treatment of tuberculosis, and for which more than 4 lakh dot centers were opened throughout the country. And these are the key activities which are implemented under this National Tuberculosis National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. We will see these activities shortly. Now, before this, let's see. We have seen that firstly, we have a National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. Second such program is National Strategic Plan for Tuberculosis Elimination. So, under this program was launched in the year 2018, and under this program, there was a target by government to eliminate tuberculosis from India by the year 2025, and for which it demanded collaboration among all the stakeholders, that is all the ministries of government, all the private stakeholders, researchers, community members, among others, to reinforce or for the effective implementation of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. So this was one initiative. In the year 2022, there was another campaign which was Pradhan Mantri Tuberculosis Mukt Bharat Abhiyan, TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. And in this initiative, this is basically a community-based approach in which the people, there could be several volunteers, or we can say there may be volunteers who may adopt various tuberculosis patients, and this minimum duration is of 6 months and maximum duration is of 3 years. So under this adaptation period, these peoples, these volunteers or Nikshay Mitras, we will see this under this strategy. There will be Nikshay. Nikshay is no to TB, and there will be various Nikshay Mitras or volunteers who will adopt TB patients, and they will provide them information regarding their nutrition intake. They will provide them they may provide them financial help also, and they may even help them with rehabilitation by providing them vocational support or employment support. So they may be, this is a community based program. And then government has built various center of excellences, that in the center of excellences, ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, is collaborating with various private institutions, colleges and other institutions to collectively research in research and development of new vaccines or new strategies or new innovations to detect TB and for their prevention. Also under the universal immunization program, which which provides free vaccines to children and women, and India has been launching this program right from 1995. So under this program, BCG, this vaccine is one of the 12 vaccines which are provided under this program. So despite government has done all this, what is the way forward? But first of all, let's see the important provisions of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, as if these provisions, these are so enabling that if these provisions are only implemented properly, this would sum up that what the government needs to do. So let's see what are the significant provisions under this program. First thing is, there should be state or district specific strategic plan for targeted interventions. This means that there are certain areas, there are certain regions, or within states there are certain regions where TB has become an endemic. So under these programs, under these ghettos, there can be specific, district specific or state specific plan for targeted interventions in high burden areas. The next thing is provision of free drugs and diagnostic to TB patients, right? For drug resistant tuberculosis also. Presently, for drug resistant tuberculosis, the course or the medications are comparatively costly. And active TB finding campaigns in key vulnerable and comorbid populations, people who are suffering from more than one diseases, as they are more vulnerable. Integration with Ayushman Bharat health and wellness centers, that is to decentralize screening and treatment services closer to the community, bringing these testing facilities closer in the vicinity of people, especially in rural areas. And then private sector engagement by giving incentives for the management of tuberculosis cases. Private sector engagement may also be engagement in the research and development of TB vaccines, new TB vaccines. Scaling up molecular diagnostic laboratories to sub-district levels. As we have seen that certain kind of test like this NAAT test, this can be scaled up in such molecular diagnostic laboratories, and this can be brought closer to the rural areas. And then intensified awareness campaigns, multi-sectoral response with involvement of line ministries. As we know that now we need a multi-sectoral response for treating tuberculosis, and these multi-sector approach could be eliminating poverty by focusing on various health outcomes, by awareness. So these are the initiative across various sectors which can be collaborated such that a holistic approach is made in the prevention or elimination of tuberculosis. And then under this elimination program, government had launched a portal, a web-based portal which was known as Nikshay, and this was for monitoring active TB cases. And then a Nikshay Poshan Yojana. Government has started this Poshan Yojana under this initiative, and this Poshan Yojana, rupees 500 per month is given to the TB patients till the time of their treatment for their nutritional support. So these are the initiatives which government had done, and by this effective implementations of these initiatives, TB can be eliminated. And then other way forward could be leveraging technology. As we know that AI based surveillance or AI based screening of X-rays could provide a faster way to diagnose TB, as because we know that diagnosis is the first step of treatment. So there can be screening tools like in the cases of COVID-19. In the times of COVID-19, we saw that there were various PCR machines. So these PCR machines, they can be put in work now, and such swab based test can be bought out for examining tuberculosis also. And then the regulations on drug control should be tightened in order to prevent antibiotic resistance. And also there should be community based models like Nikshay Mitras in order to provide the people mental support, emotional support, as well as financial and as well as financial support to these people, right? So this was all about tuberculosis. And now with this, let's move on to our second article of the day. It appeared on the page number 10 of the Hindu. Now this article talks about bonded labor prevalence of, particularly it talks about prevalence of bonded labor in Maharashtra. And with this, we will be seeing the bonded labor issue in detail. And now this issue is important for us for our GS paper 2 social justice under welfare schemes for vulnerable sections. Now first of all, what is a bonded labor? Bonded labor, as by its name implies, any kind of labor or any kind of labor force which is bonded. That is, they have any kind of obligation, they have any kind of debt bondage, or they are forced labor. They have any kind of agreement with any service provider or with the creditor. Basically, there are people who have taken certain kind of loans from some creditors and they are not able to repay their loans, and because of which they have an obligation or certain kind of agreement, either formal or informal, with these creditors to render services to them, right? And such kind of bondages, such agreement can be either formal or non-formal, informal. Basically informally they are working with these creditors, and now because they're forced, they're obligated to provide their services, so they, in lieu of their services, either they can be given nominal wages or sometimes they are not even given any wages. And earlier this bonded labor this was found in the agriculture sector, but as the other sectors, as the manufacturing sector, industries, these all sector is increasing, their presence has been increasing in the country. Now we can see that this bonded labor, this has even spread from agriculture sector to other manufacturing and industrial sector also. Now as per data by government in the year 2016 came up with a 15-year vision. Government said that by the year 2030 there will be a total abolition of bonded labor from India. And with the estimates, with the rough estimates the government has, government says that there are around 1.8 crore of bonded laborers existing in India, and by the year 2030 there will be a complete abolition of bonded labor from the country. Now with regards to it, let's see what is the actual progress which the government has made. Now as per the data released in the year 2023, in the time period between 1978 to the year 2023, around 3.15 lakh people, they were released from bondages. So we have over 3 lakh people who have been released from bondages. And see, in bonded labor there are two things. First of all, we have to release them. Second thing is we have to rehabilitate them or to provide them alternate employment. So just around 3 lakh people have been released, and less than 3 lakh or just around 3 lakh people or 94% of this population has been rehabilitated. Now if we compare this percent with the target of government, we see that this is a very low amount, right? This is a meager numbers which the government has achieved. And now given if the pace remains like this, by the year 2030 we may expect that just 3 to 4% of the target which the government has set would be met, right? So this is the precarious issue of bonded labor, or this is status which India is presently seeing. So now let's see that has India done anything, has government done any initiative to rehabilitate or release bonded laborers. Now for it we have certain constitutional safeguards. What are these constitutional safeguards? We have Article 23 and Article 24. Article 23 of Indian Constitution and Article 24 of Indian Constitution, they say right against exploitation, right? So what does Article 23 says? Article 23 says that there should not be human trafficking or forced labor. And this also, it says no to human trafficking and forced labor by respecting the right to work with dignity of people. That right to work with dignity is an inherent right of people, and so for it there should be no human trafficking and there should be no forced labor, even beggar. So this is under Article 23 of Indian Constitution. In short, what does Article 24 of Indian Constitution says? It prohibits the employment of children who are less than 14 years of age in any hazardous occupation. So such children who are less than 14 years of age, they cannot be employed in any factory, in any mining industry, or any such hazardous industries, right? So this is in order to ensure the welfare of children. And then there is these are the Article 23 and 24 are the fundamental rights which the citizens of India have. And then Article 39 DPSP, it says that the government should strive for protection for economic welfare of its citizens, especially more focus should be on the economic welfare of vulnerable or weaker sections. That is, government should work for economic welfare of all the peoples of India, and especially the more focus should be done on the welfare of vulnerable people. And if you see these bonded people, as per the data by government, these bonded people, majority of them, they belong to the vulnerable sections of society. They belong to scheduled caste, they belong to scheduled tribe. Maximum of them are women and children. So these are the vulnerable section for which government should work towards their economic welfare, right? So these are the constitution provisions which we have. And also there is an act, we have an act which prohibits basically there was an act which government of India enacted in the year 1976, that was Bonded Labor System Abolition Act, which unilaterally abolished bonded labor from India. And all such bonded labor, they were released from their bondages by the government by unilateral abolition of bonded laborers, and all their debt obligations were cancelled out, right? So these were the remedy. This is one of the remedy. But before this, let's see that what are the reasons of prevalence of bonded labor or bonded labor in the country. So one such reason is the perpetual cycle of poverty. So first of all, resourcelessness. There is a state of resourcelessness where these people, they don't have any resources, nor financial resources, nor they do have any land. So in this condition, for their sustenance, they need some jobs, they need some money, they need some loan, and such loans are provided by creditors, who often in the lieu of these loans ask them to be bonded or enter these people into bonded labor system or forced labor. So this is the first thing, the lack of resources they have. The second thing is migration and informal job sector. We have seen that there is a prevalence of out migration in India, basically from rural areas to urban areas in the search of job. And also we have seen that maximum of these bonded labors, they are found in the informal job systems. So the people, they migrate out of rural areas to urban areas, in seeking jobs for employment, and then they are employed in the informal job system, and which is less regulated as compared to formal job system. They have no minimum wages guarantee act and other perks which the formal labor system is employing, and because of which they are highly prone to exploitation. So this is another reason. Third thing is low wages, obviously, because they are in this bonded labor system. They are either paid no wages, or even if they are paid, these wages are low. So there is a cycle where they have to self sustain and they cannot save enough. That's why they are in perpetual this cycle of debt, poverty and debt, and then bonded laborer system. Also, maximum of these people are lowly skilled people, and because of their lack of education and lack of other skills, they are bound to remain in this vicious cycle. And then let's see government efforts. Apart from these constitutional provisions, we have bonded labor system abolition act of 1976, which unilaterally abolished bonded labor system from India. And for this law, it establishes a vigilance committee at the district, subdivision and block level to oversee the implementation of this act. And these vigilance committees, they advise the district magistrate of the district to ensure the provisions that this act is properly implemented. And under this act, it is the responsibility of state government to identify, release and rehabilitate the bonded labor. So this is the act. And then there is another act. Another act is, there is a central sector scheme which the government had floated for the rehabilitation of bonded labor, and this scheme was floated in the year 2016, and this is to provide financial as well as non-financial support to the bonded laborers. Financial support is in the form of immediate support. So these bonded labor, first of all, they have to be recognized, and then when they are recognized, when the state governments identify them, then they have to be rehabilitated. And for rehabilitation, they are given two types of incentives. One is financial incentive, other is non-financial incentives. So in this financial incentives, they are given an immediate support of 30,000, and then after some process, there is a process of 3 months after, for which they are given some certain kinds of certificates, bonded labor certificate, and there is a process for which, and after this process is completed, then they will be given 1 lakh if he is a male worker, 2 lakh if the worker is a woman or a child, and 3 lakh when the worker is either a transgender or women or children in extreme cases. For example, if they were forced to, for example, prostitution or other issues, then in these cases the compensation they will get is Rs 3 lakhs. And non-financial incentives, maybe they would be given some land or some low-cost dwelling units, some houses, low-cost houses for their rehabilitation. So these are the incentives under this scheme, under the central sector scheme, which the government is giving them. And then there is a vision document which the government has prepared till the year 2030, and which we already saw that this is to identify, release and rehabilitate 1.84 crore bonded laborers from the country, and to completely annihilate or end bonded labor system by the year 2030. And it also deals with altered form of bondages. For example, organized begging, forced prostitution, forced marriage, and forced recruitment for insurgency activities, domestic services. That is, these all will now also be dealt as bonded laborers. And then there was a code on wages in 2019, and for which the provisions for minimum wages, they were made universal. That earlier these wages, they only existed in formal sector, but now they were made universal via this code. And then also India has ratified the International Labour Organization Abolition of Foreign Labour Convention Act, and because of which India aims to eliminate all forms of forced or compulsory labor. So these are all the steps which India has taken. And now what could be the way forward in this regard? What could be done further? For the sensitive districts, they should be identified, and the corpus or the funds for them should be increased. there should be improved coordination between all the stakeholders, say district authorities, state government and central government. There should be a national portal on bonded labor for welfare entitlement, such that there should be proper registration of bonded labor, and the funds which are given to them should be properly monitored, if these funds are being given to them or not. And then there should be a central database of all type of assistance which is given to these people. And then for their rehabilitation, there should be improved conditions of work and timely wages for laborers. And there should be a timely release of release certificates, as we saw that they are given certain kind of certificates, and sometimes there is a delay in releasing these certificates, which should be done. There should be early release or timely release of these release certificates. And then there should be regular surveys in the sensitive districts, that if there is any presence of bonded labor. And then there should be convergence between the schemes of state government as well as central government. So these are the initiatives which can be, these are the way forward which can be done further. With this, let's move on to our third article, which says that Pakistan to mull revival of trade ties with India. So the Pakistan's foreign minister has expressed that Pakistan has restated that Pakistan may think of reviving the trade ties with India. Now for this, and this article is important for us for our GS paper to international relations, India and its neighborhood. For this, let's understand the evolution of India-Pakistan trade ties in the recent time. So now what happened? Let's understand one thing. India and Pakistan both are the members of World Trade Organization, right? So earlier, India had given Pakistan the status of most favored nation. Since the year 1996, India has given Pakistan this status. And what happened that in the year 2019, after the Pulwama attack in February 2019, India revoked its most favored nation status from Pakistan. This was one development. The second development was that after the abrogation of Article 370 of Indian Constitution, Pakistan unilaterally scrapped the trade ties with India. Right? Now, this was the timeline of events. What happened in the year 2019? The most favored nation status of Pakistan was scrapped by India in 2019, and then after the abrogation of Article 370, Pakistan stopped the land ties through land border, Wagah-Atari border from India. But certain ties, if we say that outrightly, if trade is non-existence between India and Pakistan, this is not the case. Certain kind of trade has been done from maritime borders, basically via the route of some countries like Saudi Arabia and certain other countries, Singapore. This trade is being done between India and Pakistan. But now we know that Pakistan is facing economic crisis, because of which it is thinking of reviving its ties with India, its trade tie with India. Now in this, if there was a concept that what is most favored nation, we saw that India revoked the most favored nation of Pakistan in the year 2019. So what is the impact of this on Pakistan? Now first of all, let's understand that what is the most favored nation. Now we know that the members of WTO aims for liberalizing trade and non-discriminatory trade between two countries. Now, for which the WTO members, if a member has given most favored nation status to other member, this may look like a special treatment, but it is not like this. It is a kind of non-discriminatory treatment only. That is, any WTO member country, if it has given most favored nation status to any other WTO member, it has to treat other members in a non-discriminatory manner in regard to customs duty. Now let's understand this by an example. Say there are some nations Okay. Now, out of these 5 nations, these 4 nations, these are the members of World Trade Organization, but Iran, it is not a member of World Trade Organization. Now, suppose India is importing any goods from these countries, or for example, there is trade between these countries. Okay. And if India is importing goods from these countries, say these are random numbers. Say on Pakistan, the custom duty is 2%. On China, it's 3%. On Japan, it's 4%. On Bangladesh, it's 5%. And on Iran, it's 6%. Now, this could be prior to WTO regulations. Now, if India has given Pakistan the status of most favored nation, since India is a member of WTO and these all 4 countries, Pakistan, China, Japan, Bangladesh, all are members of WTO. Now, if India is giving Pakistan 2% customs duty, is imposing 2% customs duty on Pakistan, since all these countries are members of WTO, India should give China the customs duty with China should be 2%. The same should be case with Japan as well as Bangladesh. That is, the custom duty overall should be equal for all the countries. But there are certain exceptions for it. What are the exceptions? The exceptions are that if there is a regional trade agreement between these countries, then some special treatment can be given. For example, Bangladesh and India are the members of SAFTA. And for this, India can give special concessions to Bangladesh. Say, for example, India has fixed 1% trade duty on Bangladesh, and this can be done via special regional agreements. And same can be done with Pakistan also, because Pakistan and Bangladesh, they are members of regional free trade agreement. But this cannot be done with China and Japan, right? And now we talk about Iran. Since Iran is not the member of the World Trade Organization, India is not obligated to reduce this customs duty for Iran. So India can set any amount of customs duty, any percent of customs duty, say 6%, 10%, any percent with Iran, because it's not a member of World Trade Organization, right? But now see certain exceptions. What are the certain exceptions? For example, regional agreement. Now, via these regional agreements, this custom duty on our regional partners can be reduced. Some benefits can be, special treatment or benefits can be given. And now one most important is security concerns. Now, if there are internal security concerns between any 2 nations, then that nations can undertake certain trade enabling provisions. Certain trade provisions a country can take. Now, this happened in the case of 2019 in the Pulwama attack, that India striped off Pakistan from its most favored nation status, citing this security concerns between India and Pakistan, right? So this was why the most favored nation status of Pakistan was scrapped, and how India was able to do it. Now we all know that because of this all issue, the economy of Pakistan is wavering, and so it has decided to give some to start this cross-border trade with India, right? Now with this, let's move on to our next topic, which is to our prelims question. Now, first topic is regarding Anti-Piracy Act. Now, the Chief of Navy, Indian Navy Naval Forces, has said that Anti-Piracy Act, which India enacted in the year 2022, it has been a great enabler for India to prevent anti-piracy operations. Now, till the India enacted an Anti-Piracy Act in the year 2022, and prior to it, India did not have a dedicated legislation to see or to regulate or to deal with anti-piracy, to deal with piracy threats. So, as we all know that, see, this is the location of India, and if we see the countries like Somalia, there are certain pirates in this region. These green dots here show that the incidences of piracy incidents around this region. And now we see that major trade routes from India pass via Gulf of Aden. So the hotspots like Gulf of Aden, here Gulf of Aden, and the collective region of Indian Ocean, that is subjected to various piracy attacks or attacks by the pirates. But we did not have any dedicated legislation for it. So a dedicated legislation India enacted a dedicated legislation in the year 2022. Now let's see that what are the major provisions of this legislation. The first thing is it set the proper definition of piracy. So it defined piracy. It said that piracy is any illegal act of violence or detection or damage or destruction which is committed by any person, by any crew, or by any passenger of a private ship against any ship or any person or any property. So it is an act of violence committed by any person on private ship to any other person or property on the board of a ship on the high seas. So any act of violence in the high seas, such act is piracy now. So what are high seas? Now see, if this is a land border of any country, say this is a land border of any country, then the area up to 12 nautical miles. 12 nautical miles is known as territorial sea. And the area right from the land border extending into the ocean, and this area, if it is up to 200 nautical miles, it is known as exclusive economic zone of any country. And if any area is beyond 200 nautical miles, then this is known as high seas. So if any act of piracy, if it is committed in high seas also, that is beyond 200 nautical miles or beyond the exclusive economic zone of any country, then also this act of India would be, the provisions of this act would be applicable there. So these provisions, they are applicable to high seas, and also they are also applicable to exclusive economic zone also. And there is a punishment for it. The punishment would be, it could be life imprisonment, and also there can be a death sentence or life imprisonment if the act of piracy causes death in its case. So there can be death imprisonment. Apart from that, there can be forfeiture or the property would be forfeited. Now for this, the central government can confer this powers of arrest, investigation or prosecution to any of its officer or any state government officer for enacting this act. And then central government, after the consultation of the Chief Justice of a concerned High Court, it may designate any sessions court for the purpose of trial. So any such trials in the cases of piracy can be dealt with any sessions court, and which can be given such power, such authority to these courts can be given by the central government. And any person, irrespective of their nationality, that is, this act can be, the provisions of this act are applicable to Indian citizens as well as to foreign nationals and stateless people also, right? So these are the major provisions of this act. So let's solve this question. The question says that what are the statements regarding Anti-Piracy Act? Piracy is defined as incident of piracy taking place only within exclusive economic zone. This is incorrect, because this is also applicable in high seas. That penalty has been added as a provision for piracy crimes. This is correct statement. Both Indian citizens and foreigners can be tried for piracy crimes under this act. This is also a correct statement. So two statements are correct. Now with this, let's move on to our next article. It says that to curb illegal trade, Health Ministry tells states to pull gaps in compiling data of organ donors. Now understand one thing, that there is an organization in India which is National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. Now what does this organization do? This organization maintains a database regarding the procurement and distribution of any organs. For organ transplantation, if any organ has been procured or if any organ has been transplanted, so in both these cases, a central database is to be maintained by National Organ and Tissue Transplantation Organization. And this Apex Center, this was created under the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act in 1994. So what is its role? Its role is to provide an organized system such that organ transplantation is an organized thing and no such illegal activity it happens. For it, there should be an organized system of organ procurement and distribution in the country, and for it, it maintains a national registry of organs and tissues donation, and this is under the Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, right? And now there is a body, there is an organization which is a state appropriate authority. Now this is an organization which was also established under the same act, THOTA Act, and this organization is a regulatory body. This will oversee the matter related to organ transplantation, and it will oversee the matter related to prevention of illegal organ trade. So this is a registry, NOWTO is a registry, and a related enforcement mechanism is with state appropriate authority. That is, it has the powers of a civil code in order for the regulation of organ transplantation and prevent any illegal organ trade, right? So this was, and the government has asked this NOWTO to properly compile data of organ donors such that there is no any lapse in the part of NOWTO, right? And now let's solve this question. The question says the National Organ and Tissue Transplantation Organization is a national level organization set up under the Directorate General of Health Services. This is the correct statement. The state appropriate authority under the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act has the powers of civil code. Now this is also a correct statement. Both statements are correct. With this, let's move on to our next article, which is on the resurgence of mumps in Kerala. So mumps, which is a viral disease, have been resurging in Kerala. There have been more than 15,000 cases of mumps in Kerala. So first of all, let's understand what are mumps. Mumps is a viral disease, and basically this viral disease, it causes inflammation in the salivary glands. It inflames the salivary glands, and other symptoms include fever, loss of appetite, headache, and muscle pain. These are the additional symptoms. Now, is this disease life-threatening? No, this disease is not life-threatening, and basically it is a self-limiting disease. That is, with proper rest, this disease can be cured by itself. But there can be scope of certain complications, and these complications can be inflammation of testes in male, ovaries in female. So this has the potential to infect the reproductive health of a human if untreated, or if there is a complication, if it occurs. Also, there can be inflammation in pancreas and brain in certain cases. Now, this mumps vaccine. Now, India has a vaccine for mumps, but this vaccine is presently, it is not included in the universal immunization program, and this was the program launched by Government of India in 1995 for free vaccination for 12 diseases. Presently 12 diseases are covered in it. This free vaccination is given to women and children. Now, as of now, this mumps vaccine is not included in the universal immunization program. Now with this, let's solve our question which says that consider the following statement with reference to mumps. The mumps vaccine has been excluded from the universal immunization program in India. Yes, this is a correct statement. This is not included in this program. The World Health Organization recommends integrating mumps control with measles elimination and rubella control programs. So there is a vaccine in India, a vaccine which targets measles as well as rubella. So what WHO says, integrating mumps also. So by making a vaccine, MMR vaccine, and this particular vaccine is even available in the private sector, but presently this is not integrated in universal immunization program. Now the statement asks which of these above statements are correct. Two statements are correct. Now this now next article says that India's total fertility rate. Now we know that India's total fertility rate is declining, and this has been established by the National Family Health Survey, or the 5th edition of National Family Health Survey, and which was done in the year 2019-2020, and findings of which were found in the year 2020, right? So there is a study which says that by the year 2050, India's total fertility rate would be 1.29. Now let's understand what is a total fertility rate. Total fertility rate of a population is the average number of children that are born to a woman over her lifetime. If if they were able to live until the end of their reproductory life. That is, TFR means the average number of children, live children, that are born to any women, right? So presently, as per the data of National Family Health Survey, which was released in the year 2020, it says that for the first time, the total fertility rate of India is 2 and the replacement fertility rate is 2.1. So for the first time, the average total fertility rate of India is declining and total TFR is below the replacement fertility rate. Replacement fertility rate is 2.1%, and if we see this data, in urban areas the total fertility rate is 1.6, and in rural areas the average fertility, the total fertility rate is 2.1, and this, the average is 2, and which is below the replacement fertility rate, and replacement fertility rate is 2.1. Now what is replacement fertility rate? Replacement fertility rate is the level of fertility at which a population exactly replaces itself from one generation to other generation. So this is a male and this is a female, and if they produce 2 children, then in this case we can say that they have exactly replaced themselves. So this is the total, the replacement level fertility rate is 2.1%. And if the total fertility rate, it goes down below 2.1%, this indicates that the generation is not producing enough children to replace itself. This will mean the depletion of working age population in particular in coming future. So this statement says that TFR of a population is the average number of children that are born to a woman over her lifetime. This is the correct statement. Replacement level fertility rate is the level of fertility at which population exactly doubles itself from one generation to the next generation. This is incorrect statement. It replaces itself, not doubles. If TFR goes below replacement level fertility, it is indicating of a rising working age population, no, a declining working age population. So 2 statements are incorrect. With this, let's come up to the final MCQ, which is that International Astronomical Union, it named the landing site of Vikram lander as Statio Shiv Shakti. Now we know that on August 23, 2023, in the Chandrayaan 3 mission, Vikram lander landed on the southern pole of moon, and at the precise site in which this lander was, it landed, the name of that site has been officially now Statio Shiv Shakti, and this nomenclature, this is done by International Astronomical Union. So this is an intergovernmental body and which does this nomenclature, this nomenclature, and this nomenclature is important to identify any feature on the surface of planet, that is, it is to easily locate it, describe it, or discuss it, right? So let's see the Chandrayaan mission in short. So Chandrayaan mission was a follow-up mission to Chandrayaan 2, and it successfully demonstrated ISRO's capability for safe landing and roving on the south pole of moon. So this lunar model, it comprised of a lander module Vikram and a rover Pragyan. And on August 23 to 2023, we saw that there was a successful, the Pragyan rover was deployed over the surface of moon, and Vikram lander made its historical touchdown. And if we see that what is the purpose of this experiment, the purpose is that the Pragyan rover will collect samples on the moon, do in situ experiments, that is experiment there, and send the data to the Vikram lander, and this Vikram lander will relay the data back to Earth for a comprehensive analysis. So a thing to note here is that Vikram and Pragyan will not be returning to Earth from their lunar journey. They will do in situ experiments there. And now with the success which India achieved, India became the 4th nation to be able to land on the moon. And now with this, let's solve our question. It said that Chandrayaan 3 successfully showcased its ability to land on the near side of the moon. This is incorrect because Chandrayaan landed on the south pole of the moon. The second statement says the mission consisted of an orbiter, rover, and a lander. This is incorrect statement, as this mission, Chandrayaan 3 mission, did not consist of an orbiter. This orbiter was present in the Chandrayaan 2 mission, but it was not present in Chandrayaan 3 mission. And the rover aims to correct lunar regolith and bring the samples back to Earth. No, the rover is not bringing the sample back to Earth. So this is also incorrect. Now above, the correct answer would be option D, none, as none of these statements are correct. So with this, let's end our presentation. If you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section. Thank you.